We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak the powers even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. With you and God in time, I best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
How can I be a better father, son, a better grandson, honoring Fannie Lou's and the Fred Hamptons, the Harriets, the chariots that carry us to various areas that marry us to progress. Yeah, we the harvest, the lovely days and midnight marauders. Even through charges and days of darkness, no, we in the hands of the greatest artists. I see it in the waters, I see it in our quarters.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host, White House Correspondent. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, please be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. Now, this has been an extraordinary day of events. We will get to them in short order, but I want to remind you all that if you're going to be in New Jersey, specifically Union, New Jersey, tomorrow on September 11th, pull up, and be a part of the Black Men Vote Town Hall. You don't want to miss the Black Men Vote Town Hall. We're going to be right there at Keene University, North Avenue Academic Building Auditorium from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. I am looking forward to being in conversation with Newark, New Jersey Mayor Ras Baraka, as well as Dr. Dale Caldwell of Keene University, among so many other brothers that are coming out to talk about what's important to Black men. Despite the election cycle, there's a lot of fanfare, particularly around presidential elections, but there's elections every year. And there are issues that are important to us every day of our lives. And so come one, come all to Keene University's Union campus on North Avenue and be a part of the conversation. Tap in. All right, now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, Trump's 30-day takeover of the D.C. police. It's ending. But what happens next? USA Today is reporting that President Trump's 30-day public emergency declaration in D.C. is set to expire after September 10th, ending the federal takeover of the city's police department, but not the presence of the military in the nation's capital. I don't know how you decouple the two, but apparently that's what they're doing. Trump's deployment of thousands of National Guards troops to Washington, they aren't affected by the deadline and will remain on the city streets. This is what we know right now about the takeover of DC's Metropolitan Police Department, that takeover ending. Trump on August 11th signed an executive order declaring a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., invoking a section of the Federal Home Rule Act of 1973 that allows him to direct DC to give his administration control of the police department for 30 days. We know that more than 2,000 National Guards troops were deployed to Washington. And again, they will still patrol the city's streets as a part of Trump's crime crackdown, even after this emergency ends. Mayor Bowser, who has cooperated with Trump's actions on September 2nd, remember she issued that executive order that she called a path forward after the emergency expires. We're going to put that to the test, it looks like. Has Trump's DC crackdown reduced crime? Well, the president says so. He says that it's been a wild success, and even Mayor Bowser has agreed that the increased federal presence has helped reduce the number of homicides, carjackings, and gun crimes. At least 5 homicides have occurred in DC over the past 30 days. It's according to Metropolitan Police Department data. And according to the White House, over 2,300 total arrests have been made since the operation started, including 20 known gang members, as well as 7 missing children rescued, 225 firearms seized, and 50 homeless camps cleared. That's what they say. We'll see what this path forward looks like in action. Moving overseas for a moment, The Guardian is reporting that Poland is closer to military conflict than at any time since World War II, as NATO allies weigh their response to Russian drones. I don't know about you, but I saw this headline pop up on my phone early this morning, and I thought, wow, this is a real scary moment. It's a moment that so many leaders sort of saw coming. They said, look, Vladimir Putin's not going to stop with Ukraine. He's going to keep going, and Poland is on his short list among other Eastern European countries in Russia's aggression campaign. Well, Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that the country is closer to military conflict than at any time since the Second World War, as Warsaw and NATO allies weighed a response to an incursion of a Russian drone into Polish airspace. Poland scrambled its own and NATO air defenses, shooting down at least 3 drones as Russia's attack on Ukraine spread to NATO territory early on today in the most significant way since the full-scale invasion more than 3 years ago. And so I don't know how else you read this other than it being not just an act of aggression, but to me, it seemed like a trial balloon. It seemed like the Russians were sort of doing a temperature check. This was sort of an exercise, and who knows what may come next, but scary times indeed. And what this means for our national security interest in Europe, who knows? But don't think that we won't feel it in our economy if some stuff jumps off in Eastern Europe. When we come forward, I'm delighted to welcome back to the show Wakenya Clanton. She is a Democratic strategist. That's one hat she wears. The other hat she wears is as the state director for the Southern Poverty Law Center in Mississippi. And all the news today has been swirling around Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist who was murdered at a campus event in Utah today. We're going to unpack that and more when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
As we get older, we may feel strong and healthy, but no matter how healthy you feel, Your immune system weakens with age. That's where vaccines come in. Vaccines help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off certain respiratory illnesses. And that's why the CDC recommends eligible adults 50 or older or those with certain health conditions get vaccinated. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Hit me! National news, the consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and I'm really glad to be in conversation with Wakinya Clanton. She is a political strategist and civil rights and social justice advocate, Mississippi-based, but no stranger to work across the nation. Welcome back to the show, Wakinya.
Thank you so much for having me, Nii-Quartelai. And hey, fam. Hey, A More Perfect Union fam. How y'all doing?
Well, you know, it's been quite a day. As you know, of course, Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, was giving a presentation at Utah Valley University when he was fatally shot. Just to catch up our leaders, learners, and listeners, this is what we know today as reported, or at the moment as reported by NBC News. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk, he was shot and killed at this event that he was hosting at Utah Valley University in Orem, just north of Provo. And President Trump, he initially confirmed Kirk's death on Truth Social. Videos circulating online, they show Kirk recoiling after a shot was heard with blood pouring from his neck. Utah Governor Spencer Cox described Kirk's killing as, quote, a political assassination in remarks during a press conference. And Utah authorities have said that a person of interest is in custody. A senior FBI official also told sources that they are confident that the person is the shooter. Wakinya, you know, first of all, I want to get your reaction to this. You are no stranger to activism, not just in Mississippi, but across the country. You're invited to speak on college campuses and a lot of places across the country. Does this tragic event hit close to home?
It definitely does, Nii-Quartelai. I mean, first of all, allow me to extend my sincerest thoughts and prayers and condolences to the Kirk family and his followers, right? I mean, this is, no one's life should be taken in such a way, right? But I think it really speaks to the moment that we're in our country, right? We have so much going on. People are so divided. Everything's so controversial, and people don't have any limits. And I think it's a very dangerous precedent to set when people have no limits. And so I just want to again just extend my thoughts and prayers to the Kirk family. I cannot imagine what they are going through right now, but I also want to say it does hit home. It hits very close to home. The work around activism and advocacy is not light. People see it and they think it's just, about just rallying cries, but it actually really is about the preservation of democracy and freedom of voice and all of those things, and that freedom comes at a cost sometimes. And so we have to be really careful when we're out and we're engaging people, when we are tugging at heartstrings and calling on people's emotions. It can be a very dangerous place, and you have to handle that responsibly. And so I just am I'm shocked, yet again in America that we still can't find it in our hearts somewhere. Our leaders can't find it in their hearts somewhere to do something about this access to these guns, right? And I'm not talking about, handguns. I'm talking about assault rifles and military grade machinery that is in the hands of everyday people. I think that we have to do something to address that. And we have to make sure that there are some proper safeguards in place. And that when we think about security, right, that we are thinking about that in a way that is very granular and it considers all options. College campuses used to be a really safe place for people to go and share thoughts and ideas. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more polarized and more, I think, political and also very dangerous for people. And so I think we have to reimagine what those spaces look like as well. We have to do better at vetting people when they're coming to engage with our campuses as well. So, there's just a lot of work to be done on all fronts here.
Yeah, we know that initially the shooter was believed to be about 200 yards away. As of an hour ago, I see that NBC News is reporting and a map that shows the distance between Charlie Kirk and the shooter's location. As NBC is reporting, it's approximately 520 feet away.
Wow.
Wow. And so I say that to give folks a sense of the level of sophistication of this firearm, the level of sophistication they would have had to have, in order to, hit their target. In this case, Charlie Kirk. The video that has been circulating on social media is quite gruesome. And we're seeing a number of elected officials across the political spectrum come out and absolutely condemn this. But is that condemnation enough? We know where the Democratic Party stands when it comes to gun control. But we also know where Republicans stand. And do you think it'll make a difference, that one of the most prominent activists in the conservative movement has now become the victim of gun violence? Do you think folks on the right will offer up more than thoughts and prayers here?
To be honest, no. Power is a very dangerous thing. And a lot of people believe that guns give them a lot of power, especially guns of this caliber. We're talking about long range rifles that were being used in this particular instance. And so, and I go back to this, Nii-Quartelai, right? We have to talk about the conscience of the country, which should be children, right? And if we didn't do anything on Sandy Hook, we didn't do anything on Parkland. We haven't done anything on the countless other school shootings that have happened in our country. This is just another moment for them, right? Like the gun lobby is a very powerful lobby. And unfortunately, I don't think something will change until it hits them at their door. That's where it is, right? Like you would think that the conservatives having one of their own fall at the hands of gun violence would think differently about it. But the song is still the same. And because the song is still the same, I think the outcomes will be the same. We need a referendum on leadership in our country, the kind that really sees and considers the people of the nation, puts our safety over all, and our well-being next to none. So that's where we need to be. And I think we're very far away from that, unfortunately.
I know so much of the work that you have done over the years has included, research on sort of white supremacy violence in this country. And I believe the last time you were on the show, you were talking about a recent report from the Southern Poverty Law Center that shines some light on that, on the rise of white nationalism, of white supremacy across the country. Talk to us about the relationship between that rise in white nationalism and what appears to be at least an uptick in political violence.
Well, Nii-Quartelai, unfortunately, I think it was in 2014, we had kind of started hitting not 2014, 2024. We started seeing a trend in a positive direction when it came to hate crimes. We kind of saw them kind of level out. We weren't seeing as many sales pop up and things like that. Unfortunately, after the election of President Trump, we've seen an increase, not only in the sales that are popping up, but the activity that is also occurring in this country. We at the Southern Poverty Law Center, we have resources that allow us to be able to track activities across the country. I actually just put the link in the chat here for folks who want to know about where people are organizing, where are extremists organizing in your community, so that you have access not only to that knowledge, but you also have access to the other resources, toolkits and things like that that'll give you some information and also help prepare you for how to combat that locally, because that's the only way that we stop it. Not all of these cells are operating in the Deep South. In fact, majority of them are acting anywhere from the Midwest over to the Eastern Plains. And so because we know that, we have to it takes all of us in the right positions to be able to combat a lot of these issues that we're seeing, the rise of extremism in the country. I think about Mr. Kirk and some of his views and how that went to radicalize people and to really put women in danger in this country, and women as well as minorities in danger in this country. And so I think, we have to become more vigilant about how we're looking and thinking and processing things when it comes to hate and extremism in the United States.
Yeah. And hate and extremism, there is no political party that has a monopoly on hate and extremism. There's no one state. It's not just red states. It's not just blue states. I've seen some so-called leaders really rushing to judgment on this. We don't even have a suspect. As has been reported as of right now, there's a person of interest. We don't know who this person is, what their motivation might have been to commit this tragedy. And so, we've got to be mindful that if we're serious about really doing something about the uptick in political violence in this country, we got to look at the relationship between political violence and rhetoric. And sometimes, folks get out too quick, or folks are out there talking that talk. Folks are out there stirring it up, right? And you never know who's listening on the other end. And so it's on all of us to be responsible, not just with our actions, but also with our words. When we come forward more with Wakinya Clanton, she is a political strategist and a social justice advocate. And again, this hits very close to home. All day, I've been in the group chat with friends that routinely speak on college campuses and all sorts of places. And I think there are a lot of folks across the political spectrum that are a little rattled today. More with Wakinya Clanton. When we come forward, you're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union KBLA Talk 1580.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. William McNeil, the 22-year-old Black man beaten during a Jacksonville, Florida traffic stop, is suing the city and 2 officers.
On that day, I really just wanted my side of the story to be heard, and hopefully today I hope my story get heard today.
His lawyers, Ben Crump and Harry Daniels, who are both Black, say he suffered a brain injury and has not returned to college. A Jamaican all-girls school has banned styled baby hair, sparking online debate. St. Andrew High says the rule promotes neatness, but critics call it restrictive. Supporters argue it upholds tradition and discipline, while others say it limits personal expression. And Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, awaiting trial for Tupac's murder, claims Sean Diddy Combs once put a $1 million bounty on the rapper. He submitted interview transcripts and video as part of his defense. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Delays along the 110 freeway. This is northbound, backing up off of the 105 all the way to the 5 where a stall has been cleared out of lanes. We're also looking at the southbound side of the 110, and that drive is crowding up out of Elysian Park from Stadium Way as you travel back towards Manchester Avenue. Let's head out to Orange County, Ortega Highway, that nice shortcut between Orange and Riverside County. There's a crash coming up on the San Juan Canyon Bridge. It's out of lanes now, but as a result, there's a 7-mile backup. It's going to be a little while before traffic really gets through. And a crash in Laguna Canyon, northbound lanes of Laguna Canyon Road, right next to Laguna College of Art and Design. That drive is jamming up all the way out away from Forest Avenue.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A slow start with first-year coach Lynn Roberts is one of the reasons the LA Sparks failed to make the WNBA playoffs. The Sparks were 5-13 after the first month and a half and never got over 500 after the third game of the season. They were eliminated from playoff contention Tuesday night when the Seattle Storm beat Golden State. The Sparks are 21-22. They can finish at 500 if they beat the Las Vegas Aces Thursday night at home in the final game of the season. The Aces have won 15 straight. For the first time in 5 years, Colorado football coach Deion Sanders has an issue at quarterback. Deion had nothing to worry about when his son Shedeur was his starter for 2 years at Jackson State and 2 at Colorado. Deion is leaning towards starting third-string quarterback Ryan Staub in Friday's game at Houston. Colorado was 1-1 and not ranked in the top 25. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you, your hobbies, dreams, career, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. Recover your life. Choose treatment for drug addiction and get back to what matters most. Find a provider and proven treatment option that's right for you. at choosechangeca.org. Recover You.
Imagine a world without heart disease and stroke, where every person has the chance to live a full and healthy life. Join us for a walk to save lives at the American Heart Association's Greater Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Saturday, September 20th at the Rose Bowl. Every step made and every dollar raised means more people learning CPR, more life-saving research, and more time with the ones we love. Sign up at heartwalkla.org. The LA Heart and Stroke Walk is sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and she is Wakenya Clanton. She is a political strategist and really a social justice advocate, a civil rights warrior, in my opinion. And we're delighted to have her back here on the show on this really busy news day. We've been talking about the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah. Right before the break, I think, Wakenya, there's something you wanted to add?
Yeah, thanks, Nii-Quartelai. You know, as someone who's been doing this work for over 20 years, I want to share something with folks who are out there who are engaged, especially in this moment, right? Your emotions are high, you want to organize, you want to be on the front lines, you know, you have something to say, you want to get people on your side, but do it carefully. There is so much happening in our country, and you need to, I'm telling you, it is hard work. It's not easy work. It's not light work. And you should not take it for granted. Be careful about what you put on social media. Be careful how far you go. Words matter. Words are attached to emotions. And sometimes those emotions run high. And so I just want to say that, particularly to young people who are really disturbed in this moment, and they don't know what to do, and they don't, you know, they just have all this energy, right? I know folks are saying things like, you know, we need to be preparing for a civil war and all these things. Be careful with that type of language. Be very, very careful with that type of language. What is happening right now in our country needs to be closely studied and examined. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you remain vigilant, right? Remain vigilant, remain vocal, but be very careful about how you use that. Be responsible with your social media. Be mindful of who's watching you, who's showing up for you, who's in these spaces with you. You need that mindfulness is very important in times like this. And so I couldn't let that segment go, knowing that as someone who has been on the front lines, who's been facing some very dangerous things, you know, be it when I was in undergrad marching in Jena, Louisiana, right, protesting against, you know, the injustices against the Jena 6, or whether it was with the George Jackson water crisis, or marching with BLM in DC, like whatever the case was, right? We had certain protections. Those protections are kind of loose now. And so that means that we need to be even more careful. So think carefully about what you say and how you engage with people now and moving forward. Is going to be really important for your safety. So I wanted to say that.
No, we appreciate you. We appreciate you making us remember that. because you're right. These are challenging times. In other news, the Trump administration is appealing a ruling blocking him from firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. The notice of appeal, it came hours after the U.S. District Judge Jaya Cobb handed down the ruling. The White House has insisted that President Trump has the right to fire Cook over allegations.
Right. No proof.
Appointees that she committed mortgage fraud related to 2 properties that she bought before she joined the Fed. Do you think Lisa Cook's vindicated, or do you think this is more likely going to go to the Supreme Court and Trump may have his way?
Well, I think this probably will make its way to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, I first of all, I want to commend Governor Cook for just her bravery and her courage, for standing extremely strong against this administration, for one, knowing the rules, right, and not being afraid to execute them. I think that was critically important. As we all know that perception is everything to the president. And so he doesn't like the idea of losing, and he particularly does not like the idea of losing to a Black woman. And in this particular case, he's been dealt a serious blow. And so I don't see him backing down off of it. I would hope that the Supreme Court finds it within itself to continue to rule on the side of justice, right? Not on the side of personality. I think that, one of the things that is interesting to me about this particular, his particular interest in this governor is not only that she's a Black woman, but because the Federal Reserve has a lot of power, particularly over regulations when it comes to housing and banking. And we've seen so much be undone and dismantled in this administration, and we're not even through year 1 yet. And so this is just the next step, I think, for him to want to monopolize on the housing and real estate market, also be able to deregulate banks so that that there are fewer protections for consumers. And so we've seen what he's tried to do with the Consumer Protection Bureau. We've seen, so many attacks on everyday working people. And so he's removing government from its actual role, which is to protect and provide for its people. And so I think the targets on Governor Cook has been done so in a way that we all should be paying attention to, and also standing in support of her as she further pursues these endeavors, because I think it's going to be a long haul.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be a long haul. And it's not just about the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. There's a report that came out, a jobs report that came out that saw that Black women have been faring the worst when it comes to the job market since Trump has taken office. Over 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs since Trump has taken office. This means this includes largely Black women who work in government, in the public sector. What are you hearing from sisters across the nation? Are they bracing for potential job loss? Are they bracing for impact? Are Black women preparing to fight back in some way, shape, or form, including the courts?
Well, Black women are doing what Black women have always done. We prepare for the pivot, right? I think we are the most educated group in America, in particular, most degree, most educated. And so a lot of us are exploring other ways to stretch the pot, right? To get innovative with our gifts and our talents. We recognize what we bring, and we also, and companies will also recognize that in about, I'll give them 3 months. 3 months from now, we're going to be talking a different story. I think it's going to open up because you can't replace that level of talent. Right? That is not something, you can try, but when your bottom line starts getting affected, then you're going to have to switch back to what worked, right? And Black women have always been what worked. And so I think in the interim, though, we are coalescing amongst ourselves. We are tapping into opportunities as they come across the board. We're sharing those opportunities with each other, but beyond that, we are pivoting, and you'll see probably a number of businesses spark up from Black women as well, just because the talent is there. The position might not be, but the power and the expertise still remains. So.
That is for sure. Well, when we come forward, Kenya, I want to keep you with us just a little while longer because former Vice President Kamala Harris made some news today, opening up about the, quote, recklessness of the Biden re-election bid. For anybody who missed it, we're going to give you the skinny on that and get Kenya's reaction to that. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilmember Curran Price, inviting you to the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September the 20th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We've got 4 pavilions, 3 stages of live music, plus food, fun, and a marketplace all along historic Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Ave. Our featured acts this year are Gregory Porter, Pancho Sanchez, and Jasmine Horn at the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September 20th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. along Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Come out and bring the whole family because this legendary celebration is free. For more information, go to centralavjazzfest.com. I'm LA Councilmember Curran Price, and I absolutely approve this message.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and look, it's time for the quiet part out loud. NBC News reporting that Kamala Harris opens up about the recklessness of Biden's re-election bid. The former VP opened up about the former president's decision to seek re-election. In her forthcoming campaign memoir, writing that deferring to the Bidens to make the decision on their own was reckless. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra. As if we'd all been hypnotized. That's what Vice President Kamala Harris wrote in her forthcoming memoir. She went on to say, was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Are you surprised by the candor of the former Vice President, Wakenya?
If I'm being honest, I don't think, no, I'm not. I'm not surprised by it. I think that she's been holding a lot for a while. I think she has undergone tremendous scrutiny, and not enough she's not been allowed to say the quiet part out loud, right? She's not been able to dissent, and to, for lack of better terms, right, to kind of make her point or make her case or make the distinction. You know, when it comes to things like this, hold on one second, y'all. Come on, just wait 1 minute. So sorry. My grandma, she's 90 years old. She's trying to get up and I don't want her to get up. So I apologize.
No worries. No worries. Keep going.
You know, I think she's been boxed in for so long. And so I think she's finding her freedom, if you will. You know, I think as she goes back and reflects on her own life and her own time in that White House, no one knows that story better than the vice president. No one knows not only her lived experience as vice president of the United States, but also then as a candidate who had to, in 107 days, try to stand up an 18-month election. And, you know, that took a lot of guts. What she's doing right now is taking a lot of guts. But I will say I agree with her in some respects, that I think there should have been more thought, conversation, coordination around, you know, what this process will look like. As someone who worked at the Democratic National Committee, I will tell you that when you have a president in office, that is the leader of the party. You know, the president runs the show, whether he is on the political side or the House side. And so when you have that type of kind of hierarchy, you do have to defer in a lot of instances. But I do think that there are moments where there was an opportunity for us to have a real conversation about succession planning. And I think one of the major mistakes we made was not having a primary so that people had a choice, and that she had a fair chance to win. And I think that's what was taken away from her, was her fair opportunity to not only run, but to win and earn the trust of the voters to be their president, right? And I think that's where we fell short as a party.
Yeah, there's another excerpt that was released from her book. You know, I was reading it this morning, and I'm curious as to what your thoughts are about it. In her book, she writes, and of all the people in the White House, I was in the worst position to make the case that he should drop out. I knew it would come off to him as incredibly self-serving if I advised him not to run. He would see it as naked ambition, perhaps as poisonous disloyalty, even if my only message was, don't let the other guy win. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said it like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice. It should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. My suspicion is that there are a lot of historic firsts that find themselves in similar positions. And one of the things I actually write about in my best-selling book, Kamala, the Motherland and Me, though my book focused on the Africa trip, there were some insights and some reporting in my book that definitely complements what excerpts have been released from the vice president's forthcoming book. No coordination on that, of course. But, you know, one of the things I challenge folks to do with my book is to zoom out and set aside the vice president's title, set aside the historic nature and historic achievement of her being in that office. There are a lot of Black folks in positions of power, influence, and authority, or so we think, that are struggling with a lot of the same challenges. And so when you hear that excerpt that I just read from the vice president's book, 107 Days, coming out later this month, what comes to mind for you in terms of her treatment in the White House by senior Biden officials?
Mm-hmm. Welcome to being a Black woman in America, right? Like, that is, her story is the shared story of many of us. We know what it's like to be so close to it and not to be able to achieve it, right? Because of what people fear, the stereotypes that we hold, right? About being, super ambitious or too ambitious, and, all of the judgments and the ridicule and the persecution that comes with the position. And it's also the threat, the presumed threat of what we know and what we hold, and the possibility that we might do a better job, right? And I think sometimes that can come over as intimidating and frightful for people. I do understand the position she was in, though, right? Because it is sensitive, right? You do serve at the pleasure of the president, right? That's everyone that's in that house. That's everyone that's in that administration. And so it is a very difficult place to navigate, especially when you don't have the full support that you need to move and navigate and to be set up for success in the way that we've seen others be set up for success when they occupied that seat that she's held, right? Even the former president himself was set up for success at one point, right? And so I think thinking about that, but then her not feeling that she had that same level of support or that same ability to be able to say the quiet part out loud, I think is one of the crippling and silencing parts about that we experience sometimes as Black women. And sometimes I don't want to just say Black women, but women in general experience in this country. So much of who we are is always under scrutiny and scope. And I'm proud that she found a space to let the truth be heard from her perspective, because that's what we did not get a lot of in the administration. We didn't get a lot of her authenticity. And I think that's where she's taking liberty at this moment.
Well, Kenya, in our remaining minute with you, I want to give you the last word. And, I oftentimes say that we can't heal what we don't talk about.
Yeah.
And I think there are insights from this book that could possibly be a healing, not just for folks across this country, but for people that are a part of the Democratic Party and the people who want to lead the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And in our remaining minute, what is your hope in terms of, this book and these conversations potentially helping to heal the fractures in the Democratic Party?
Nii-Quartelai, what I say to that is that leaders are born every single day, and positions don't dictate your ability to lead or to be seen as a leader. What dictates your ability to lead and be seen as a leader is your leadership. It is how you step up and show up in hard times. The trust that you're able to admonish from people who see you moving and trust your movements. I think that's where we are right now. Too many people get caught up on the position, right? And they forget that there's two types of power of position and power of influence. And, not everyone has to be in a position to execute on their power. And not everyone in a seat has the power that is perceived. And I think we have to keep that in mind too, as we think about next steps and how we show up in the work and in the world.
Our thanks to Kenya Clanton. She is a political strategist, a social justice warrior, and helping us to separate the fact from the fiction as Democrats and people of conscience sort of find their way outside of the political wilderness. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm gonna add that to my signature.
you do it. You earned it. You already earned it. You are listening to Streaming in Your Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump will let his 30-day emergency declaration in Washington, D.C. expire, saying the city is now cooperating. It follows Black Mayor Muriel Bowser's order for ongoing collaboration with federal law enforcement. National Guard troops will remain deployed. Trump claims the streets are safe. Lives Matter is facing backlash after posting a movie clip on its Instagram that appeared to justify violence following the murder of Ukrainian refugee Nina. The post drew criticism online as the case involving suspect Carlos Brown, who is black, sparked comparisons to other high-profile deaths. And Justice P. Scott Neville Jr. has been named the next Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court, becoming only the second black person to hold the role. His 3-year term began